Providing tonight's commentary with regards to the budget is our new CFO, Ms. Jennifer Stover. And it is my pleasure to introduce, last but not least at all, our Warden of Peterborough County, Mrs. Bonnie Clark, to kick off the meeting tonight. So thank you for joining us. Bonnie, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Matthew. And I'd like to start off our open house by reading the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that Peterborough County is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory and in the traditional territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Alderville, Beausoleil, Curve Lake, Georgina Island, Hiawatha, Rama, and Scugog Island First Nations. Peterborough County respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. We will now turn it over to Jen, and she will walk us through the budget. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Warden Clark. So the 2023 budget process started earlier in February. We were at an 8% tax levy increase. We're currently sitting at 4.93% after some decisions by council. And the presentation that we'll launch in a moment here has been updated to reflect that current status of the budget. And so I'd ask our clerk to start the presentation. This budget presentation provides a summary of Peterborough County's 2023 budget as amended. The 2023 budget presents numerous challenges. As individuals and residents, we are still feeling the effects of the pandemic and are now additionally burdened by high inflation. In 2022, Canada's Consumer Price Index reached a 40-year high, the largest increase since 1982. Consumers are paying 28.5% more for gasoline. Price for fuel oil and other fuels rose 59.6%, and energy prices increased 22.5%. Unfortunately, these same pressures are being felt by the county and have placed a strain on both the operating and capital budget for 2023. In the operating budget, the most notable pressure is in our waste management contracts, which rely so heavily on the transporting of recycled goods. And in the capital budget, we have experienced some of our competitive procurements being double what was budgeted. While our goal is to always balance service level expectations with affordability, this budget was particularly challenging. As I take you through the presentation, I will provide further details on the budget pressures and some of the opportunities taken to mitigate those pressures. Peterborough County covers a large geography of more than 4,000 square kilometers and serves a permanent population of more than 55,000 people. The 2023 budget is a first for this new term of council. County Council is comprised of the mayor and deputy mayor of each township for a total of 16 members. The warden for this term of council is Bonnie Clark, and the deputy warden is Sherry Senes. The 2023 budget is very much a status quo budget with minimal service level changes. The budget increases largely reflect the increased cost of providing the same service that residents have come to expect. The COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact the county's operations. We've received Safe Restart funding from senior levels of government in previous years to offset the increased costs or decreased revenues. However, that funding is not expected in 2023. The county's vision statement was last updated in 1991. This spring, Council will be developing a new strategic plan with input from staff and the community. The strategic plan will outline the priorities and goals for the coming years and provide staff with an operational plan to execute and evaluate the priorities. Council had its first budget meeting on February 2nd. At that meeting, Council approved reductions that resulted in a tax levy decrease from 8% to 4.93%. Council met again on the 15th to deliberate the budget, followed by a public open house in the same evening. We hope to bring forward the budget for approval on March the 1st. There are a number of services that the county shares with the City of Peterborough. The cost sharing is calculated either based on permanent population or weighted assessment. The budget expenses for the Peterborough County City Paramedic Service, Peterborough Public Health, and the Peterborough Family Health Team, and the Peterborough and Kawartha Economic Development are all allocated based on permanent population. In 2023, the county's share has increased slightly from 41.38% to 43.36%, with the city being responsible for the remaining 56.64%. The budget revenue for provincial offences and the budgeted expenses for social housing are allocated on weighted assessment. The county's share of this budget is 55.7%, and the city's share is 44.3%. Weighted assessment is the property tax assessment multiplied by the tax ratios. And the tax ratios are the relative tax burden of each property class relative to the residential rate. Almost 90% of all properties within the county are residential, with the remaining approximate 10% coming from farm and commercial properties. The map on your left identifies the 8 townships within Peterborough County, and the pie chart on the right shows how the county's total assessment is distributed. Approximately half of the county's property assessment is within Selwyn, Trent Lakes, and North Kawartha, with the remaining half being allocated amongst Douro-Dummer, Cavan Monaghan, Havelock Belmont Methuen, Otonabee South Monaghan, and Asphodel Norwood. This is the high-level overview of the county's organizational structure and the leadership team under the direction of Sheridan Graham, our Chief Administrative Officer. In a moment, we will walk you through the budget for each of these areas. The county's budget is more than $100 million, and the loonie highlights where the tax dollar is being spent. Approximately 85 cents of every tax dollar is being allocated to the county's core services. 48 cents is being allocated to maintain our vast network of roads and bridges. 15 cents is for our shared services to address social services, housing and homelessness, and children's services. 8 cents for PCCP or our paramedic services. 7 cents for waste management and landfill operations. 6 cents for the many external agencies that the county supports, including Peterborough Public Health, Fairhaven Long-Term Care, Economic Development, and Transit. 2 cents of every tax dollar supports Lang Pioneer Village, and the remaining 14 cents are the administrative services that support all of the above, which includes our facilities, administration, planning, and GIS. The total tax levy requirement for 2023 is $53.2 million. This is an increase of $2.5 million over 2022 and net of assessment growth. The chart shows the breakdown of the increases by budget area. As you can see on the right side of the chart, approximately 70% of the tax levy increase is coming from waste management, public works, and paramedics. On the left side of the chart, you will note that corporate operations and landfill have a decrease in tax levy support. I will discuss these changes in more detail throughout the presentation. The external and shared services component of the operating budget is increasing by approximately $188,000. On the far right side of this chart, you'll note that the majority of that increase is coming from Peterborough Public Health and Fairhaven Long-Term Care at almost $198,000. The county city landfill budget has a decreasing tax levy requirement for 2023. We will discuss the details of each of these budgets further in the presentation. The total tax levy operating budget pressure is approximately $3.6 million, and the key drivers are shown in the pie chart. Salaries and benefits are increasing approximately $2.3 million. This is due to contractual wage increases and statutory benefit increases, and the addition of 6 new positions, 4 full-time paramedics and 2 staff in engineering and design. Materials, supplies, and services budget is increasing by approximately $820,000. This is largely due to inflationary pressures in the Public Works budget. Waste management is experiencing a net budgetary pressure of approximately $430,000 due to inflationary pressures in our waste management contracts. These budgetary pressures are offset by a decrease in contributions to reserves of $520,000. Council previously approved the temporary use of reserves to fund the Causeway Widening project. The final payment occurred in 2022, and therefore the transfer to reserves is no longer required. There is a transfer from reserves of $850,000. This is a notional transfer, meaning that staff have established a target to find additional revenues and/or efficiencies in our operations. 2 examples will be an increased focus on investments and a review of our planning fees. The balance of the county's Safe Restart funding is being used to mitigate the loss of provincial offences revenue in the amount of $220,000. Assessment growth for 2023 is 1.24%, which equates to approximately $620,000. The assessment growth is allocated across the various budgets, and the operating budget received the benefit of $330,000. The net impact of all of these changes results in operating budget pressures of approximately $1.6 million. The next number of slides provide more details about each department budget. They follow a similar layout with a description of the department and the key drivers for the budget increase. The pie chart shows the major operating budget expenditures. This is the total budget and not the change or the increase. The table highlights the total operating expenses, operating levy, and levy increase. And the section ends with a statement about the levy increase and the tax levy impact. As there are many departments to go through, I don't want to keep you here all day, so I will provide the highlights for each department, but certainly won't speak to every number. If we start with the general government budget, this is the budget that supports the 16 members of council. The total operating budget is $652,617, and as the pie chart shows, is primarily for salaries and benefits. The tax levy requirement for this budget is increasing by $131,000 to support the new remuneration bylaw that was approved by the previous council. Corporate operations are the administrative functions that support the organization and includes the CAO's office, legislative services, finance, HR, communications, and information technology. The total expenditure budget for this group is $7.2 million. As a service provider, you will find that salaries and benefits are the biggest component of each of the county department budgets. This group has a tax levy decrease of $175,000. You will find that the salary and benefits are increasing in every department. The county has 2 different unionized groups, and their wage increases are contractually determined. Unless there is something unique happening in the department, I'm going to skip over the salary and benefit increase so as not to be repetitive. Specific to this group, there are 2 new positions that were added in 2022 and only budgeted for half the year. The 2023 budget includes the other half of the salary and benefits for those positions. The materials and supplies budget is increasing by approximately $127,000, primarily due to insurance, which saw a 16% increase, and our IT software, which is a contractual increase. Finally, the budget includes that notional draw from reserves that I spoke to earlier of $850,000. Although this budget resides within corporate operations, it is not to suggest that the targeted savings will all reside from this group, but we will monitor and report on the progress. The GIS department maintains the county's mapping, aerial photos, and customized maps, and are very instrumental in putting this presentation together, and I'd like to thank them for that. The total budget for this department is just under $800,000. The non-salary component of their budget is primarily the cost of software licensing fees. The increase to this budget for 2023 is $52,000, and outside of salary and benefits, the increase pertains to IT software and support, and due to the technical nature of their role, a small increase in staff training and development to ensure that staff remain current in their learning. The Lang Pioneer Village Museum celebrates and preserves the rural history of the county. Their total budget is $1.2 million, and their increased request for 2023 is approximately $76,000. The non-salary changes to this budget is an increase of approximately $18,000, which cumulatively is for insurance, audit fees, and repairs and maintenance. There is also an increase to the contribution to reserves of approximately $32,000 to support the long-term maintenance of the village assets. The Public Works Operations Department supports the day-to-day maintenance of the county's roads and bridges, and most recently, in managing our winter control. As one of the larger budgets, I think it's important to share some facts and statistics to help put into perspective where your tax dollars go. This group maintains approximately 690 kilometers of roads. For perspective, in lane kilometers, that's the equivalent of driving from here to the east coast of Canada. They maintain 153 bridges and large culverts and approximately 1,200 cross culverts. Operations responds to over 1,100 customer inquiries and manages numerous winter events. The total budget for roads operations is $10.65 million, and the increase for 2023 is approximately $372,000. The majority of the increase relates to inflationary pressures in materials, supplies, and services. The Public Works Engineering and Design Group is responsible for making the capital improvements to the roads, bridges, and culverts that the Operations Group maintains. In 2022, this department undertook 18 different roads projects, totaling approximately 50 kilometers, and 15 different bridge projects. The total operating budget is $1.9 million. There are 2 new positions that are proposed for 2023, as recommended by the Service Delivery Review. These are a Transportation Master Plan Coordinator and a Supervisor of Engineering and Design. Similar to operations, The budget for materials and supplies and services is also increasing due to inflationary pressures of approximately $460,000. There is a decrease in the transfers to reserves as the final payment to reserves was complete in 2022 on the Causeway Rewidening project that I had mentioned previously. Overall, the budget for engineering and design is decreasing by $460,000. As this group is responsible for capital improvements, their larger budget request is included in the capital program. The planning department supports the growth and development of the county. The planning department budget is $787,000, and the requested increase for 2023 is $114,000. Other than salaries and benefits, there is an approximate increase of $50,000 for new software that will streamline the planning application process. The Land Division processes applications for severances within the county's 8 townships. The budget for this department is fully supported through user fees and has no reliance on property tax funding. The county forests manage approximately 2,130 hectares of forest, and the budget for this department is fully funded by timber sales and also has no impact on the tax levy. Any surplus or deficit in this budget is managed by the transfer to or from reserves. The Corporate Facilities Department is responsible for maintaining all county properties and facilities. They have a total budget of $2.1 million and have a proposed tax levy increase of $430,000. The salaries and benefits for this department were previously included in Public Works. So while there is an increase in the salary and benefits within corporate facilities, there is an offsetting decrease in the Public Works budget. The other notable change in the facilities budget is an increase in rent of $214,000. This is the new office space on Hunter Street. However, there is an offsetting increase in revenue. The Waste Management Department is responsible for recycling, composting, organics, electronic recycling, and hazardous waste. The total budget for waste is $5.4 million, and the proposed increase for 2022 is $924,000. Our contracted services budget increased by almost $600,000 due to escalating fuel and contract costs. Marketed materials revenue has a significant decline in the last quarter of 2022 due to the loss of market value, resulting in decreased revenues of approximately $95,000, and the Blue Box Recovery Grant Program was expected to decrease by approximately $140,000. The paramedic budget is more than $20 million, with the county share being approximately $4.3 million. As the other large county department, I want to share some facts and statistics to support how these tax dollars are being spent. In 2022, paramedics responded to more than 41,000 calls, an increase of 8.2% over 2021. 29,700 patient responses, an increase of 9.6. These equate to an urgent or emergent response every 17.7 minutes, compared to 19.4 minutes in 2021. Offload delays consumed 11,425 hours, an increase of 285%. This equates to more than one fully staffed ambulance per day lost to extended offload times. There were 0 ambulances available more than 108 hours in 2022, an increase of 34% over 2021. Our ambulances drove more than 1 million kilometers, a 12% increase with corresponding fuel and maintenance costs. and the unit hour utilization in 2022 was 39%. For context, a utilization of more than 35% indicates significant risk. The paramedic budget is funded 50% by the province, and the remaining 50% is shared between the county and the city, with the county share of 43.36%. The proposed tax levy increase for 2023 is $479,000. The paramedic budget includes 4 new full-time paramedics, plus the annualization of 4 paramedics that were hired mid-2022. The increase in paramedics still leaves the county short of the master plan recommendation for expansion of services. The transfer to reserves is increasing by approximately $100,000 to support future asset replacement. In addition to the 911 services, PCCP is responsible for 4 programs which are fully funded by upper levels of government. The Substance Use and Addictions Program was a pilot program that is ending at the end of March. Community Paramedicine Program receives provincial funding of approximately $480,000 and provides care for patients in their home who require a high level of support to avoid hospital admission. The Community Paramedicine Long-Term Care Program received funding of approximately $3 million from the Ministry of Long-Term Care. This program supports individuals who are on a long-term care wait list or those who may qualify for long-term care placement. The consumption treatment site is fully funded by Forecast and provides a safe, clean space for people to consume pre-obtained drugs under the supervision of health professionals, and their budget is $289,000. This is the final component of the paramedic budget. The total operating budget for emergency measures is $176,000, and the proposed budget increase is $10,690 to support salaries and benefits and 911 dispatch fees. As the name suggests, the grants and donations budget is for council-directed grants and donations. The total budget is $72,500 and includes a contribution to the Canadian Canoe Museum and the Norwood Fire Academy. That concludes the county's department budgets, and we will now move into the external and shared services budget. As council has already received presentations from most of the agencies, I will not speak to these slides in great detail. The county is an equal funding partner with the city of Peterborough at the landfill. Due to an increase in projected tipping fees, the tax levy support for this budget is decreasing by $125,000. The City of Peterborough provides a number of services on behalf of the county, and the county contributes to these expenses. This includes Provincial Offences Act, social assistance, children's programs, housing and homelessness, and the Community Development Program. The Provincial Offences Act revenue continues to be low due to lasting impacts from the pandemic. The county had previously used Safe Restart funding to offset the reduction, and the 2023 budget includes the balance of Safe Restart funding of approximately $220,000 to reduce the impacts of the lost revenue. Social assistance has a requested budget increase of $16,100, and the Community Development Program is requesting $18,687. Children's Services is forecasting a decrease in the budget of $91,028. This is not expected to be a long-term decrease, so while it helps in the 2023 budget, it may represent a pressure in future budgets. The requested increase for housing and homelessness is $155,206. Additionally, the county includes a $90,000 contribution to reserves for future housing needs in each budget year. The total increase for all the shared services is almost $175,000. Peterborough Public Health is requesting an increase of $313,511. In 2022, the county levied an additional $92,808, which was transferred to a reserve. For 2023, the transfer has been eliminated, which reduces the tax levy requirement to $220,703. Fairhaven is the long-term care facility that is funded in part by the county. They have not requested an increase for 2023. Peterborough and Kawarth's Economic Development provides economic development and tourism services to the city and county. They have requested a tax levy increase of $50,497 to support their 2023 initiatives. Community Care Peterborough provides door-to-door transportation to residents with physical challenges. Their total budget is $104,915 and includes a tax levy increase of $1,478. We will now move into the capital budget. The capital budget for 2023 is $32.3 million, of which $13.5 million is being funded from the tax levy. This is an increase of approximately $690,000 over 2022. In previous years, Council has approved a dedicated infrastructure levy, and the 2023 tax levy increase includes a 2.5% infrastructure levy of $1,267,648. As you will see in the pie chart, approximately 80% of the capital budget is allocated to roads and structures, with the remaining 20% for vehicles and equipment, facilities, and landfill improvements. The chart breaks down the $32.3 million by category and highlights the funding source. In addition to property taxes, the capital program is funded through grants such as gas tax, ICIP, and OSEF, and development charges. Some of the programs are reserve funded. It's important to note that reserves are generally created from tax levy contributions. The Public Works Fleet Management capital budget is $1.5 million and includes 2 plow trucks, 4 replacement light-duty trucks, 3 new light-duty trucks, a 3/4 ton truck, a backhoe, and a steamer. The Peterborough County City Paramedic Service also has a fleet and equipment budget in capital that totals almost $1.4 million and includes a logistics van, an emergency response vehicle, 3 replacement ambulances, 2 new ambulances, 2 power stretchers, and a bariatric stretcher. It's important to remember that these costs are shared with the city. Our GIS department has once again created an interactive 5-year capital forecast that allows you to select by municipality, by year, by program type, and scope. New for this year, we have included the 2022 carry forward capital projects. Staff have assumed that the 2.5% dedicated infrastructure levy will continue while we work on the asset management financial plan. As we recently heard from consultants, the county faces many challenges related to asset management, including aging and deteriorating infrastructure, increased demand and expectations, and rising costs and affordability. From an accounting perspective, we aren't quite finished with 2022, but our unaudited year-end balance in reserves is $39.9 million. At the end of 2023, we forecast the balance to be $32.7 million, which indicates that the use of reserves in 2023 exceeds the contributions by $7.2 million. The total 2023 budget, including both capital and operating, is $102 million, and approximately 2/3 of the total budget is allocated to public works and paramedics. More than half of our revenues come from property taxes and almost 23% from grants, and the remaining quarter of the county's funding comes from various sources. This is a snapshot of all of the county department budgets, the external agencies, and the capital budget, and the impact that it has on the tax levy. Of the more than $53 million in tax levy funding, the county departments receive $29 million, the external agencies and shared services receive $11.2 million, and the capital budget receives $13.5 million. The 4.93% increase, inclusive of the 2.5% dedicated infrastructure levy, results in an approximate increase of $19 per 100,000 of residential assessment, or approximately $50 to the average home. The tax levy increase will result in 51% of the revenue supporting our capital infrastructure, and the remaining 49% supporting county operations and the external shared services. This concludes the Peterborough County's 2023 budget presentations. If you have questions or comments, you may email them to the clerk's office at ptbocounty.ca. So that concludes the presentation. Grant, I believe that you're the only individual that's in attendance. You have submitted some questions to the clerk's office, which is much appreciated. We will respond to those questions and provide you with a written response. And as well, at the March 1st council meeting, council will receive a copy of the questions you submitted and the responses as well. Did you have any other further questions that you'd like to ask us pertaining to the 2023 budget?
Hi, thanks very much, Jennifer. That was a great presentation. I don't have any other questions. I think what I would hope you'd be able to do is just formulate the responses to me when you have an opportunity. Certainly, my objective here was to connect, and my main concern is related to Bill 23 and how that may affect the finances of the county, specifically around development charges and the capping of development charges. And so the questions that are presented to you are reflective of that. I don't know if I'm able to make a few other comments, Madam Warden.
Certainly, go ahead.
Well, anyways, I'd just like to thank you again for the opportunity to present questions. It's important. It's great to be able to be engaged in as a taxpayer to support the various initiatives that the county has. And I just want to take a few minutes or seconds to acknowledge and thank county staff for all their hard work during the pandemic. I don't think we acknowledge folks enough, and I know that the paramedic staff and frontline staff have been doing great work over the last 3 years. And as I mentioned the province recently enacted Bill 23, and I'm sure there's concerns around county council table regarding that. They've made variety of changes to the planning, conservation authorities, and municipal heritage and development charges acts. And that's really what spurred me to present to council and ask these various questions. To quote the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Bill 23 proposed numerous changes to the Development Charges Act and the Planning Act. It's going to significantly impact how municipal governments recover costs associated with growth. And, you know, again, I think what I'm mainly concerned with as a resident of the county and a resident of Lakefield, there is an anticipated development of 1,000 residential units on the horizon in Lakefield South. And the payment and collection of development charges to fund growth-related projects such as stormwater, wastewater, water, roads, and bridges, which of course is the county's purview, is important. It's not just important to folks in Lakefield or Selwyn Township, but it's important to everyone else in the county as well. And I guess my couple of examples that I just wanted to highlight was, as the village grows, as Selwyn Township grows, as the county grows, the county road network will be affected. It's going to affect how the county responds and how the road network is going to change with time. So support for county-based development charges is critical to pay for growth-related road widenings, intersection improvements, bridges in the county road network. So I'm concerned that some of these growth-related services and programs will be subsidized by county taxpayers to the benefit of land development interests. And as important is the county's existing infrastructure assets like roads, bridges, and buildings. So again, the infrastructure deficit that's there, certainly it's been reported in the past that it's a multi-million-dollar funding shortfall or deficit. And it's great to see that the county is continuing to implement a infrastructure deficit levy to try and play catch up. But I guess, again, coupled with this is a concern that taxpayers may end up subsidizing land developers for growth-related infrastructure projects that they should be paying for. And this will come at the expense of other existing assets. You know, in my case, locally is Block Road or County Road 33, which is in quite a condition, poor condition. And how, you know, when is that going to be addressed? And
Grant.
so I think, so in summary, that's essentially what my intent is to really just focus on those areas. So thank you very much for letting me take the time to relay those questions and make a few comments. And thanks again.
You're quite welcome, and thank you, Grant, for bringing those concerns forward. I want to tell you that you are speaking to the choir here. We're already converted, and we have brought those issues up with our MPP. We certainly are not alone in this concern. That has been addressed at Roma. It will be certainly addressed at the other conferences and the other entities, but we certainly understand where you're coming from, and we do have those concerns. So I want to thank the staff. And I want to thank our Finance Committee, Councillor Wilford, Councillor Armstrong, and I'd like to turn it over to the Chair of our Finance Committee, Councillor Graham, just to wind us up here. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Warden, and thanks to everyone who chimed in and participated in the meeting. The next discussion, as was alluded to earlier, of the 2023 budget will occur at the March 1st meeting of County Council, beginning at 9:30 a.m. Grant, thank you for those contributions. I think, as the Warden mentioned, we share a lot of those concerns with the pressures. If you're interested in exploring more, there was a report on the January 18th meeting that outlined the forecast of financial implications over the next 5 years of the Bill 23 proposed amendments. But as the Warden also mentioned, We've been promised in county council chambers by the MPP that we will be made whole and there won't be any financial implications. So might I suggest that you follow up with your MPP to see if there's any new updates as to how those are, or that financial support is going to be coming to us, because we are very much anticipating with bated breath the arrival of said funds. But with that, that concludes the budget discussion this evening. Thank you for your interest in this year's